Peppa Pig is that one show where some characters make you smile the moment they show up, some make you want to change the channel immediately, and some characters leave you completely torn. Like, do I love this person, or do I genuinely cannot stand them? But don't stress, because in today's video, we're breaking down Peppa Pig's most loved versus most hated characters, and the pattern is going to go like this. One hated, one loved, back and forth. You'll find out exactly why they're loved, exactly why they're hated, and there's one character in this list where people genuinely cannot decide. Love or hate? Nobody knows. Alright, let's get into it, and make sure you subscribe because this video is about to get wild. Character 1, Chloe Pig. Hate level, annoyingly always right. So we're starting with a character who technically doesn't show up that often, but every single time she does, the comment section absolutely explodes. Chloe Pig, Peppa's older cousin. On the surface, Chloe seems totally fine. She's older, more mature, more sensible. But that's exactly the problem. Every single time Chloe appears on screen, she follows the same pattern. She treats Peppa and her friends like they're kindergartners.
No, Peppa. Bouncy castles are for little children. This is a bouncy thing for big children.
Okay, yes, they technically are. But the point is, Chloe's energy is constantly condescending. Like, I'm older than you, I know more than you, you're too little to understand this. That vibe. Every single scene. And the most irritating part? She's always right. The show literally vindicates her every time. So she's not just annoying, she's smugly correct. And that is so much worse. Because that's just reality, honestly. Nobody enjoys someone who constantly acts superior, even if they actually are superior in that moment. That's true in real life and in cartoons. And for US audiences specifically, this "I'm older so I automatically know better" energy is extremely familiar. Every family has a Chloe, that one cousin who shows up at Thanksgiving and somehow has an opinion about everything. And the worst part is, they're usually not even wrong. And you can't ignore her because she's technically not doing anything bad. That is the most frustrating kind of annoying. There's no argument to be had, she just wins. Drop a comment. Do you have a Chloe in your family? That one cousin who always knows better? Anonymous answers are perfectly fine. Character 2, Pedro Pony. Love level, the most relatable character on TV. Pedro Pony, the internet's favorite side character. And honestly, he deserves every bit of that love. So what exactly makes Pedro so lovable? He's always late, always confused, always forgetting something. And he wears glasses, which is surprisingly rare for characters in this show.
The bus is still waiting for Pedro Pony.
We can't wait any longer. The museum will be closed.
Okay, let's go.
And I don't know why, but writing this section felt weirdly personal. And that combination, late, confused, forgetful, glasses, creates instant relatability for the audience. Because honestly, how many of you just described your own morning routine? I'm personally raising both hands right now. But here's the thing about Pedro that actually makes him special. He tries. He genuinely, consistently tries. He's late, but he shows up. He's confused, but he engages. He forgets things, but he apologizes. He puts in the effort, even when the result isn't perfect. And that is actually a pretty powerful message for kids. You don't have to be perfect. You can be late, you can be confused, you can forget stuff, but you still show up, you still try. Pedro does that, every episode. And the internet has basically adopted him. Pedro memes, Pedro appreciation posts, Pedro fan art, he's become the most beloved side character in online Peppa communities. A late, confused, forgetful little pony won the internet's heart. Honestly, most relatable arc ever. Character 3, Richard Rabbit. Hate level, what are you even doing here? Now this character is genuinely hard to talk about, because Richard Rabbit basically does nothing. Richard Rabbit is George's best friend, if we're using best friend very, very loosely. He's small, he's cute, and he squeaks. That's it. That's Richard. His entire contribution to this show is appear on screen, go squeak, exit scene. No personality, no memorable moments, no character development of any kind. I genuinely have a cousin like this. I don't even remember his name half the time. And look, George doesn't have a ton of personality either, but George at least has one consistent thing going for him. The dinosaur obsession. Dinosaur, rawr. Annoying? Sure, but memorable. Richard doesn't even have that. Some fans online argue that Richard actually represents kids who are extremely shy, who aren't comfortable in the world yet, who can't express themselves. Okay, That's a fair point. But then the show needed to actually develop that, right? A character who only squeaks isn't representation. That's just background furniture. Like literally background furniture. And that's what makes Richard so frustrating. He's wasted potential. He could have been an interesting character. Show us a shy kid's journey. Show us how he slowly gets more comfortable. Let us root for him. The show never did that. Richard Rabbit is a missed opportunity. And missed opportunities in any creative work, cartoons, movies, TV, are genuinely frustrating. Character 4, Danny Dog. Love level, cool without even trying. Now this character, Danny Dog, is the one who pulls off effortlessly cool. And effortlessly cool is actually a skill. A rare one. Very few characters manage to do it, especially in kids shows.
George is still riding a baby bike. Yours is a baby bike too, Peppa.
Danny Dog is part of Peppa's friend group. He's Captain Dog's grandson, which already gives him an interesting family background. He's sporty, adventurous, and generally just chill. But what genuinely makes Danny special is this. He doesn't create drama. Seriously, think about it. Every character in this show brings something chaotic. Peppa's bossy, Susie's competitive, George cries, Pedro's confused. Danny just is. He shows up, he participates, he has a good time. No agenda, no competition, no unnecessary conflict. And honestly, that energy is needed in this show. One character who's just a positive presence, who keeps the vibe light, who doesn't absorb drama, he neutralizes it. Kids specifically love Danny because he represents a very specific type of person, the one every friend group has. The friend who's always down for whatever, always up for an adventure, always positive without seeming fake about it. Danny Dog is genuine, and you can feel that. Character 5, Mr. Bull. Hate level, 0 accountability. This character is genuinely entertaining, but for a very specific reason, parents have issues with him. Mr. Bull, construction worker. The most recurring adult character in the show who isn't related to the Peppa family. Mr. Bull's job is to build things, fix things, construct structures. But the problem? Mr. Bull always destroys things first.
Madame Gazelle is back from the dentist.
Mr. Bull, what are you doing to my school?
And honestly, I don't know how this guy still has a job, or why his contractor license hasn't been revoked, but okay, we'll move on. Every single episode he appears in, something gets destroyed. A wall, a road, a building, nothing is safe from Mr. Bull's hammer. And then he cheerfully fixes whatever he just broke. Like, this is actually a great business model.
Why, Dada, why?
This is business.
This is my sweat!
I know, but I did business.
Shut up! Shut up!
This is business.
Break the thing first, then charge to fix it. Now look, this was clearly intentional for comedy, but fans noticed a pattern. Mr. Bull never faces consequences. He breaks things, adults laugh, he fixes it, end of episode. In real life, if someone showed up and knocked down your wall and then just smiled and said, "Sorry, let me fix that," you would not be calling them a hero. But in this show, that's exactly what happens, over and over. And this specifically irritates parents, because it sends a very clear message to kids. Careless behavior has no real consequences. Break stuff, smile, move on. The concept of accountability simply does not exist for Mr. Bull. But, and I'll be honest here, Mr. Bull's scenes are actually funny. He's genuinely entertaining when you watch him as pure comedy. The problem only starts when you think about what he's actually teaching. Character 6, Zoe Zebra. Love level, pure sunshine energy. Zoe Zebra, the most visually unique character in the show, and her personality matches that uniqueness completely. First, visually, Zoe is a zebra. The show is mostly pigs, rabbits, sheep, and dogs. A zebra with actual stripes immediately stands out.
Zebra Zubra, Zebralini, Zib Zib Zebra, Zebrocini.
And visual variety matters in kid shows. Zoe delivers that automatically. But her personality is what's genuinely refreshing. Zoe is enthusiastic, genuinely enthusiastic. She wants to explore things. She wants to try new experiences. She's curious in a way that's actually infectious. And she brings a completely different energy to Peppa's friend group. She's not bossy, she's not competitive, she's not dramatic. She's just excited about everything, consistently. For the audience, Zoe is beloved for a specific reason. She represents that kid who's genuinely curious, who always asks why, who isn't afraid to try new things. Although, if you ask why too much in real life, your teacher or your parents start giving you looks. But Zoe never gets that in the show. Her episodes almost always have something to learn. Culture, nature, music. because Zoe's curiosity naturally leads toward educational content. Zoe Zebra is this show's hidden gem, and she genuinely deserves more episodes. Character 7, George Pig. Hate level, 1 note. Okay, now we're getting to a character I have genuinely mixed feelings about. Sometimes I find him sweet. Sometimes I see him on screen and I just... I don't even know how to explain the reaction. It just happens. George Pig, Peppa's little brother, arguably the second most prominent character in the whole show. Now, hating George feels a little harsh. He's a toddler. You can't really hate a toddler. But honestly, for some reason, personally, watching this character gives me a specific kind of irritation that I can't fully explain. I don't know why, it just does. And online fans, specifically adult fans, express one specific frustration about George. He is completely one-dimensional. George's entire personality is dinosaur, rawr,
Dinosaur.
and then crying. That's the whole thing. Every episode, George cries about something. Doesn't get what he wants? Crying. Can't win a game? Crying. Anything that doesn't go his way? Immediate crying. And the adults, Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig, always accommodate him immediately, validate his feelings, give him whatever he wants. And then parents watching notice something. This is directly connected to a real parenting debate. Should you always give your child what they want the moment they start crying? Is that actually healthy? The show's consistent answer is yes. Give it to him. His feelings matter. On one hand, that message is good. Children's emotions are valid. On the other hand, the show never actually shows George learning how to handle his emotions. And that is what frustrates parents. Character 8, Madame Gazelle. Love level, the teacher we all needed. Now this character, Madame Gazelle, is the one where adults and kids both actually agree. She is the best teacher. Madame Gazelle is Peppa's teacher. And what genuinely makes her amazing is that she actually enjoys teaching. She is genuinely invested in the kids' growth. The show has plenty of patient adults, but Madame Gazelle's patience operates on a completely different level. Think about what she's dealing with. A classroom that includes Peppa, kids who operate on George's level, confused Pedros, and every possible personality type imaginable. And Madame Gazelle is consistently warm, encouraging, and enthusiastic. Never visibly frustrated, never dismissive, never shuts down a kid's curiosity. And that is something the audience deeply connects with, because everyone knows the value of a genuinely good teacher. Those teachers who actually care, who aren't just showing up to collect a paycheck, those people leave a lifetime impact. Madame Gazelle is that teacher. And whether you're 5 years old watching the show, or a parent sitting on the couch next to your kid, you recognize her. Because at some point, if you were lucky, you had a Madame Gazelle in your life. And if you did, you never forgot her. Character 9, Suzie Sheep. Hate level, toxic friend energy. Now this character, this is the one with the most debate online, by far. Suzie Sheep, Peppa's best friend. Now I've actually covered Suzy in a separate video, links in the description, but there's a genuinely wild theory in that one, so check it out at the end of this video. But here, let me properly break her down. When Peppa has something, Suzy has something better. When Peppa is winning a game, Suzy changes the rules. When a conversation is about Peppa, Suzy somehow redirects it back to herself. Individually, that just looks like kids being kids.
Oh, Peppa, we can be friends again, if you say sorry. I'm sorry I said you cheated, even though you did cheat. Well, I'm sorry you were ever my best friend.
But as a pattern, consistent, every single episode, that is a toxic dynamic. And what makes this even more interesting, Peppa never calls her out. She always just accepts it, always moves on. And that dynamic, one friend who constantly minimizes, another who always just lets it go, that feels personally familiar to a lot of adults watching. Suzy isn't a villain. She's not deliberately evil. She's just a kid who was never taught that being competitive and being supportive are two completely different things. But she represents the most problematic friendship dynamic in the entire show. And adults watching get uncomfortable, because they know where that dynamic leads in real life. Character 10, Grandma Pig. Love level, wholesome queen. Grandma Pig, the most wholesome character in the show. And I can say that with full confidence because honestly, nobody hates Grandma Pig. Nobody. Not a single person. And that is genuinely an achievement. In a show where every character has some kind of debate around them, Grandma Pig has universal approval across the board. Why? Because she is exactly what an ideal grandma looks like. Warm, patient, caring. Always baking something. Always gardening. Always has time for the kids no matter what. Grandma Pig's house creates a very specific feeling. That cozy, safe, warm feeling you get in the home of someone who genuinely loves you. For the audience, this hits especially hard because grandparents hold a really important place in American culture. They're the bridge between generations. They're the anchor of a family. And Grandma Pig represents all of that. But what makes her truly special? She never judges. Whatever Peppa does, whatever George does, Grandma Pig is always accepting, always loving, always radiating that come in, sit down, I just made cookies energy. And honestly, the world could use a lot more Grandma Pig energy. Her episodes are always feel good. And genuinely feel good content, not fake, not forced, is always valuable. And now guys, I'm giving you a bonus. Because we talked about most loved versus most hated, but this next one, this is the most controversial character in the entire show. And I think you already know who it is. Bonus, Peppa Pig. Status, most controversial character in the show. Peppa Pig. The main character, the face of the show, literally the name of the show, and also the show's most controversial character. Because this is the one character the world is genuinely divided on. Kids love her. Adults, specifically parents, cannot stand her. And some adults find her genuinely fascinating to analyze. So let's start with the loved side first. For kids, Peppa is relatable because she is exactly what a kid actually is. Curious, energetic, sometimes selfish, but not maliciously. She's the center of her own world. Because in a child's world, they genuinely are the center. She feels her emotions loudly, because kids feel their emotions loudly. She's authentic, as a child. Now the hated side. And this is where it gets real. Parents actually filed actual complaints against Peppa Pig. Studies came out showing that Peppa's rude behavior was being copied by kids watching the show. Specifically, Peppa constantly mocks Daddy Pig. And kids started talking to adults in that same condescending tone. These were serious complaints, genuinely serious ones. Peppa embarrasses Daddy Pig constantly. She corrects adults publicly. She always positions herself as superior. She's competitive with Suzy even though Suzy is supposed to be her best friend. And that behavior, in a main character, gets normalized. Kids watch Peppa do this with zero consequences and then they try it themselves. And then parents are left dealing with it. But, and here's where it gets actually interesting, some developmental psychologists argue that Peppa is actually healthy representation. She's a normal kid. Kids are selfish. Kids are bossy. Kids do challenge adults. That's normal development. Maybe the show was just being honest about what a real kid looks like. And that is exactly what makes Peppa controversial. Because now you have to ask, who's right? The parents who complained? Or the psychologists who defended her? Honestly, both. Peppa is a realistic kid. But taking a realistic kid and making her the main character without ever showing consequences, that's where it becomes problematic. That tension, realistic representation versus responsible representation, is what makes Peppa Pig a genuinely fascinating case study. And that's exactly why people are still talking about this show 20 years later. Love her or hate her, Peppa Pig left her mark. And it's not just Peppa. Over these 20 years, these characters have each played a role in millions of kids' lives. Some entertained them, some irritated them, some genuinely taught them something important. So, which character was your favorite, and which one irritated you the most? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious.